Alright, click the links to join the channel here. Get your name in lights for $1 a month. Or over at Subscribe Star, check out the Rumble and Odyssey. So I read the Marysue and a bunch of stuff every day. And it's a comedy blog, the Marysue. I don't know if they know how funny it is. And the pettiness has to be seen to be believed. And after you read it for a few years, you realize, oh, they like these, when they call these people like cat ladies and soy boys, there's really no better description of them. So Hogwarts Legacy. The voice actor Greg Ellis is attacked by these Marysue cat ladies and soy boys. So they write this article because they have an issue with the J.K. Rowling Harry Potter game, Hogwarts Legacy. Perhaps you've heard of it. Perhaps you're playing it. It started because J.K. said that men aren't women. How dare she? And they need their own spaces. Let me get to the heart of the story. Most of us agree with that. It's like, oh, so like it's been for that way for quite a long time that, you know, men and women have their own spaces. That's what everyone's comfortable with. Oh yeah. These brainwashed globalist kids suddenly need to change everything. Well, you know, you look at the kids who are saying this, and it's like I'm calling them kids because this is coming from a very young place, and you know, a lot of this is coming from some of the stuff is like, you know, the women who write the Marysue, you know, they're in their 30s. But, you know, if you're a woman in your 30s writing for the Marysue in the first world, that's like the equivalent. That's not what it was, you know, 50 years ago, where a woman in her 30s was going to be a grandma and had raised, you know, 6 kids and, you know, was breaking the necks of chickens and skinning rabbits. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's a whole different experience where you can be 32 writing for the Marysue, and then you go back and, you know, think of your mother, your grandmother, who's showing you how to wring the neck of the chickens. But those are our hens. Yes, well, now they're off their lay, so it's time to wring their necks and eat them. Oh, that's just the way. Yeah, we're keeping these rabbits. Wow, but this is a pet bunny. Yes, but it also supplies us with food during hard times. That was my grandma's generation. But you know what I'm saying? It's like you look at your grandma now, you know, growing up on the farm, like during hard times, or not hard times, but leaner times, where and then you realize like, oh, your grandma is harder than you are right now. You know what I'm saying? Like so she made all the clothing, she skinned the rabbits, did the chickens, and, you know, did all this kind of stuff. It's like, so grandma did all that? Yeah, grandma did all that. Grandpa was doing other stuff, but like grandma was doing all of that, and then taking care of the kids and sewing them clothing, which is, you know, now called vintage. And you look around your own life, you're like, I have a hard time just getting out to plant the potatoes for the garden this year. It's like, yeah, your grandma's harder than you are. Like, yeah, really. You know, it's good times, soft men. And we're at that cycle right now. Anyway, so JK said that men are not women and they need their own spaces. Most of us simply agree with that. And the thing is, we don't do this kind of straw man where we hate you. Most of us don't have an issue with the BLT kids, because the adage is you do you over in your lane and we'll do us over, you know, very far away from you in a different lane. Diversity is definitely a recipe for conflict here, because you have people with interests adverse to each other. I think more people just kind of need to wake up and say what is so obvious. I think more people are realizing that mixing people together who don't want to be around each other doesn't make any sense, because they want to do different things. You're just like trying to force magnets together. Not all things have to be for all people, and when you try to make something for all people, you end up with something that's so milquetoast and safe and nerfed that nobody. You know, SJWs, they come into something, they nerf it, and then nobody wants to use it for anything because it's so boring. And then, you know, a bunch of guys go off and make something cool, fun, and a little edgy. It's like, oh, but the orcs are these people, and the elves and the goblins and the, you know, you say those hot words, it's like you'll get points against you, because YouTube associates those words with people, and you go, you know, most of us don't actually. Like, that's a fantasy universe, but no, you don't understand that the hobbits actually represent something else. I'm like, okay, I mean, maybe not, you know. No, the OK symbol, it just means okay. No, it has morphed. No, it hasn't. In your minds, it's morphed to mean something, but to us, it just means the situation normal. That's all it means to us. Or it might be a way to troll the left. No, it means this. Like I said, at this point, we literally have different definitions of words. Anyway, especially here, because we have one community that believes in sex. We believe in a sexual binary, and sex-based pronouns, and that men and women need their own spaces, like we've believed that for, I don't know, 500 million years. The BLT Bolshevik kids think that men can be women and that there needs to be men in the ladies' room, changing rooms, sports teams, and healthcare situations. And I guess I focus on the men being in women's spaces because I don't think it goes the opposite way too much. I'm not sure how many women are want to be like play on men's sports team or want to go in the men's room in the men's changing locker room, that kind of stuff. Men's like retreats, like you see women want to join in on there. It doesn't seem like that happens as often. The thing is, diversity is conflict. This seems obvious to me. I don't know why. I don't understand why it's politically incorrect to say that to these kids, because you ask people like, oh, how do you know something, and they go, oh, well, I know it because the media has told me it my whole life, or the government schools have told me it my whole life. You go, oh, but did you go to the primary source material? Because we know something because we went to the primary source material and we bypassed the media. The media said one thing, went to the primary source material, like, oh, the primary source material actually says the opposite, so the media is lying. Oh, but I know the South is this way because the media told me it my whole life. Okay. Well, you don't know anything if all you know is what the media told you. You don't know the truth. You don't know the lies. You know what the media wants you to know. It's weird that to hear the sheep just kind of keep parroting that diversity is a strength. They hear the media and they just parrot these words without thinking about it. They never stop to break up that stimulus response. You go, stop the stimulus response. Pause it right after you get the stimulus and start thinking it through, either scientific method, issue, rule, analysis, conclusion, whatever cognitive method you want to run it through to do some thinking to it and go, is what they're saying true? Who benefits? Follow the money. What would it take to disprove it? Just apply the scientific method. Like, can we look at the source material? Is it biased? Do they admit their biases? Which is, with a lot of scholarship now, it's coming from very far left wing places. And you look at them like, so are you going to admit your personal biases in this article, in this book? And they don't. And if they do, it'd be great. It's like, usually that's the scientific method, is admitting all these kind of things right up front. But the scholarship now is not so much academia, science-based, as it is morphed into like an opinion bloggy, science-ish type of thing, where it's something else, where they shy away from things that are politically incorrect. And you're like, well, that's not how science progresses forward. That's how political correctness progresses forward. And like, you're no longer doing science, you're doing something else. Anyway, so the Marysue hates this guy for doing the Hogwarts character because JK thinks that men are not women, which everyone agrees with, which are 99.9% of the world agrees with, which is one of the reasons the anger at the game doesn't make sense, because everyone is on board with JK Rowling. Men and women definitely want their separate spaces, which doesn't mean that we hate the BLT commie kids. We know they're just social media kids who think all this stuff matters. We were teenagers once also. It really doesn't matter. They'll discover that in 10 years, that the energy over this was just from globalist brainwashing. And I don't mean mean BLT necessarily. I suppose if you are, you are. I mean the energy associated with the movement around it. At some point, the kids are going to realize you got to live your life. And being an activist on Twitter is not going to be a big part of it over more than a few years, because it just gets going to get really boring. Presumably, they're going to find a spouse and get married, have kids, do some gardening. Being a slacktivist on Twitter gets old after a few years, or even being Antifa and BLM gets boring because they never actually accomplish anything, because their puppet masters prevent them from getting over target. All they do is pointlessly gather together, burn some buildings, shoot their own people, and go home. They never actually go after the puppet masters, and they never will. And the 2012, what was it, the Occupy Wall Street. You guys were so close. You're so close. What happened to that? Oh, someone came up with the briefcases full of money, and they got the guys who were the organizers. And they said, hey, see this briefcase full of money? Yeah, you have my full attention, sir. See this Tesla? Was it that guy at the Chaz? He had like a trunk full of ARs and a $100,000 Tesla. It's like, so this is your community organizer? Trunk full of ARs and the Tesla? So the Chaz is all you guys. So what are the ARs for? Don't get me wrong, I'm pro second for sure. But I mean, it's all you guys. Like, there's no outsiders in the Chaz. I would, it's like it's a town that it's like being on base or something. You don't need to walk around necessarily. Are you in like a forward operating position, or you in a hostile zone, or you're like way back where like you can have the ARs in the barracks or something, but why would you walk around with them like, oh, so I can't help but notice you got a mag in and one in the receiver and it's ready to go, and you're walking around on like, it's like we're not in a forward op. Why are you in the chat? None of that makes sense. Anyway, so the other reason they don't like the guy is because he's concerned about men's rights, especially where the family court is dealing. And first of all, men's rights are human rights. This is the biggest L of the left wing and the feminist community, is they're degrading and dehumanizing the misandry, their hatred against men. Human rights are for everyone. Nobody is free until all men are free. But for some reason, the left wing has a problem with this. Human rights include European men also, which is probably their real issue. They just hate. They really hate blue and green-eyed people. So they keep saying that feminism is for everyone, but they seem to not be so inclusive of the men of European descent, which from our perspective is great, because I think we need more separation. I think everyone needs to go off in their own, I think it's time to get very, very tribal. Separation, not inclusion, because just not all things are for all people, and like trying to do it together, it results in garbage. Anyway, so the cat ladies are outraged that men would stand up for their rights, especially in family court. Hey, I remember that Red Pill movie came out and touched on that, and it triggered so many people. And you look at them like, but aren't men's rights an issue for you? Like, if men feel it's an issue that men's rights are an issue, or the treatment of the family court and various legal issues, criminal justice system being biased against men, won't you want to support human rights? That includes all men also. It's like, well, if they're POCs maybe, but not for the European ones. So okay, you don't support equal rights, and you don't support rights, you don't support liberty, you just tribalism, which again, like the point of all this is to shine a light on this, to say, listen, these people are tribal, you have to also be tribal, which is anyway. So they're outraged of rights, and they're outraged that something about he supported Johnny Depp against his abuser Amber Heard, who admitted to abusing him, and the court found for Johnny Depp. So Amber Heard got her day in court, she got due process, and she lost. But the feminist organizations all support her. So what? The court found for Johnny Depp. He had a judge and jury. Who cares what some cat ladies and Soyboys on Twitter said about a popularity contest? The due process is the critical issue. And you mentioned due process to these Twitter kids, and they look at you like you have two heads. Like, what's due process? The due process clause of the Fifth Amendment applied to the states through the 14th Amendment. Are you guys familiar with the Bill of Rights? Oh, we know the Second Amendment's really bad, and free speech needs to be gotten rid of. Okay, I mean, what about like unreasonable searches and seizures, or due process, or right to counsel, jury trial, cruel and unusual punishment, or states' rights? Oh, no, we need a centralized federal authority. We're going to have to get rid of that 10th Amendment. Okay, I mean, you guys are just out of your effing mind. The best thing to teach kids is like, there's a class on civics in high school. There's like gym class in high school, which like nobody does anything. Get rid of the gym class and just do constitutional law. The constitutional law for like an hour a day would be a better use of your time than some gym class. Anyway, so the left wing wants witch trials based on Bolshevik popularity context. The current year media, in quotes, is weird because something like the Marysue isn't exactly the media so much as it is just an extension of an opinion piece. It's a blog to just softly defame anyone they want. They do stuff like they call people toxic or fashionable ones, but what exactly does that mean in current year? If you say that men aren't women and they need the right to exclude each other from their spaces, they call you Hugo Boss. If you think kids should not be dancing around on stage for men throwing dollar bills at them, then you're literally the corporal himself, which is, it's interesting because the left wing is doing this to themselves, where you have any kind of time there's a group that protests against this kind of stuff, and it's like it's a group of moms and parents and just the most normie people who are protesting against this stuff, and the media comes out and goes, oh, these are the far right protesters, these are the Hugo Boss, and you look and they go, oh, that's an interesting way to frame it. Anyway, Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for the support on Subscribe Star, and I'll see you guys all next episode.